When we were kids, we never knew what she was doing, but she used to stay up late and just write and write and write and write.
It was an extraordinary first interview with a writer, because she'd never been out of Yorkshire before, never been in a theatre.
How did you came up with the idea of the Arbor?
Knew the film, Read Sue and Bob too, but I didn't really know Andrea Dunbar's plays. I knew it was an adaptation of her plays, but I hadn't seen the plays, and I read them actually, and they've been reprinted with a play called A State Affair, which is a piece of verbatim theatre. And I used this technique of lip-syncing in a film that I made 10 years ago, and I was very interested in the idea that in the theatre it's a kind of documentary theatre, but if you use this technique on film, it kind of draws attention to the illusion. And really I was interested in the idea of revisiting a place and reflecting on the previous representations of that place. So that was the starting point, and I knew that Lorraine Dunbar was important because of her words at the end of A State Affair. But it took a while before this became the central spine of the film, really, the relationship between Lorraine and Andrea Dunbar. Lorraine is Andrea Dunbar's eldest daughter.
Did you have any kind of reference or influence in films that you have seen or you liked to construct it that way?
Well, I guess perhaps they're obvious influences, but Jean Rouge, Chronicle of a Summer, I think is a very important film, and also Errol Morris says this, said this thing: truth can't be guaranteed by style or expression. Truth can't be guaranteed by anything, and that had a big impact on me and on my thinking about documentary and its failure, really, or the false aspiration to close the gap between the real and the representation of the real, because there's always a gap, so it's better to acknowledge it. And I suppose I see the lip sync as a kind of constant reminder of this gap.
How difficult was it to achieve that lip sync thing in such a great way?
It was very difficult for the actors, and I take my hat off to them because they did an incredible job. They learnt it absolutely accurately with every breath and every pause, and I think it was a very technically difficult thing for them, and they were amazing to learn it in that way and to be able to do this very difficult technique and give these true performances.
Did you rehearse a lot?
We didn't rehearse that much. No, we had a little bit of rehearsal, but really the actors went off with the sound. And Manja de Werk has talked about how she put it on, who plays Lorraine, how she put it on her iPod and listened to it over and over again. She and Chrissy, who plays Lisa, were talking about how if somebody started to play it, they would be able to do it absolutely instantly, and that it's a bit like learning a piece of music. And very difficult, I think, to know how long to pause and when to speak and when to do an and it's a challenge.
I've read that in East Council State, where she used to live, it's quite a dangerous kind of area. But you incorporated a lot of the people that live there. How was it? How did they feel participating in the film?
I wouldn't say it is a dangerous area. I'd say that it has, especially in the 90s, it was very deprived, and when Andrea was growing up there and writing about it, it's a very, very deprived place. But people are brilliant there and very welcoming and friendly and involved. So when you see Andrea Dunbar's play The Arbor performed on the street, The Arbor, all of the people that you see watching were very involved in the filming of those scenes. and Andrea Dunbar's extended family still live there, and her niece and nephew are in the play. When you know they act in the play, The Arbor on the Arbor. So yeah, and I'm back there working with that community again, making another film. So people really embraced it and have become good. You know, we're good friends.
What part of Andrea's work and life was the one that interested you the most to make this project?
I think she has a real economy of language, and there's a real subtlety to her work. Although the themes are very dramatic, her plays have a very subtle subtext, and I think it's a very rare voice, and especially at the time when she was writing in the 80s, and I think it has a real relevance to today, and it's an important voice.
Did you like the Alan Clark's film?
I like the film very much, yeah, and I really admire Alan Clark, and I especially like he made a film for TV called Road, which was a play by Jim Cartwright, which actually was performed alongside Andrea Dunbar's third play, which is called Shirley. And I think it's amazing because because the performances are very stylized, and it's a location, but it feels like almost like a theatre set. It's a very interesting relationship between theatre and film in Road. Yeah, I really like his work. I think he's a very brave, important, radical filmmaker.
How well was your film received in the British film industry, considering how unorthodox it is?
Oh, it had a really good reception, very good press, and yeah, you know, the response was fantastic, and I had no idea how people would respond. And you know, because it's kind of an experiment, you know, so I didn't know how people would respond. So I was very, very happy with the response to the film. Yeah.
Will you continue this sort of way of making films in your next project?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Are you working on something at the moment?
I am working on something, yeah. In the same place. There were a group of teenage boys who were always around the set with and I really got along with them, and I'm interested in their lives, so I'm working with this group of boys.
How important do you think Andrea Dunbar's figure is for the young generations in Britain?
The young generation?
Yeah.
I think in some ways, for my generation, she's a very significant and known voice. I think to a younger generation, maybe she was not so well known. Although the film, Reach Sue and Bob 2, is kind of a cult film in the UK. You know, it's on TV a lot, and people can quote lines from it. So I think, you know, there's a kind of important lineage that she is part of, without a doubt, yeah.
And in terms of, I mean, I've read a lot about this Broken Britain thing, and considering that her life was so difficult, but she had like the courage to canalize it to channel it in such an artistic and creative way.
Yeah. I mean, I think Lorraine also has something of her mother's skill with language, in that she is very direct and very economical in the way that she speaks. She's a very direct communicator, and I think that the film works because those two voices are put side by side. So, I think it's important that in a way, it was a very good opportunity to look at 30 years of one family in this particular community, and to think about the present in relation to this past. And you know, I think Broken Britain is such a horrible term in a way, but you know, there's a hidden problem that has to be addressed.
Thank you very much.
Dear Max, I'm sending you the bit of writing I've done. It's not much really. That's because I've had to take Lorraine out of the nursery. I think it must have been hard for her to have a mixed race child on a white and very racist estate. If she was alive today, I'd have a lot to say to her.